Good afternoon, class. How are you doing? I hope that you are safe and healthy. Today we're going to continue our studies in Unit 10, page 92 to 94. On page 92 and 94, it entails the study between relationship between the sun, earth, moon, and man. So, how does the sun, the earth, the moon, and us have a relationship? Can you tell me? Can you explain anything about the relationship between all of us? How it correlates? How it affects all of us? How the sun affects us? How the moon affects us? Okay, we can start our lessons by turning our book to page 92. Can you please pick out your book and turn to page 92? I have mine marked. On page 92 is this object here, and it's telling you a brief description on how man is affected by the sun and the moon. I'm going to read the first paragraph with you. If you want, you can also read with me, and we will discuss this later on. Okay, let's begin. First paragraph on page 92. All things in nature relate to each other, such as the soil, they help the plants grow, and the trees, they receive rain so they can grow. So what does that sentence mean? The soil helps the plants grow. What is another word for soil? Can you put something up on our Telegram post? What is another word for soil? If you have said soil means dirt, you are correct. Soil is the dirt and the sand that the plant grow on. And it also talks about the tree, how it receives rain so it can grow. So rain is part of a natural phenomenon, right? Rain affects and comes out because of the weather and how the moon and the sun circulate the earth, correct? Okay, relationship between the sun, the earth, and the moon. You can read that paragraph together, okay? The sun, the earth, and the moon, though very far apart, relate to each other. They causes natural phenomena such as daytime and nighttime, high tide and low tide, moon waning and moon seasons. So what it's saying here is the moon, the sun, and the earth, it all affects each other, right? If the moon or the earth is turned around at different angles, it affects the season and it causes high tide and low tide. And if the sun is on the other side of the earth, we will have nighttime here. Is that correct? So the only reason why we have daytime here is because the sun is on our side of the earth, correct? So it will be, as you can see here, if the sun is on our side of the earth, we will have daytime. That means on the other side of the earth will be nighttime, they will see the moon. Okay, class, I have some pictures here that we posted on our Telegram post. The first picture here is a picture of our solar system, which I have here on our Words to Know. And the second picture I have here is the layer of Earth. This is planet Earth. This is an example. This is Earth, like this globe. It's our planet. But in Earth, there are many layers of Earth. Did you know any of them layers before? Have you ever studied about these layers of Earth? And what layers are we currently on? If you know any of these layers, you can post something up on our Telegram post explaining some of these layers of Earth to me and what layer of Earth we are on right now. We will discuss this later on in our video. And also here I have the phases of the Earth moons. How each moon, when it rotates around Earth, there are different viewing and different phases of the moon. We will study about that later. For now, can you please turn your book to page 94? And page 94 also have a picture of our solar system. The solar system. Solar systems are a system which include the sun and all the planets within the solar system. How many planets do we have in our solar system? Can you name all these planets? If you do, you can post something up on our Telegram post naming all the planets. Okay, I will go back to our word solar systems. Solar systems. Solar systems is the whole systems that include the sun and all the 9 planets included in the solar system. And my second word is Earth. Earth. Earth is the planet we live in, like the globe I showed you earlier. The sun. What is the sun? I know most of you know what the sun is. What does the sun do to affect Earth? Moon, that's it. Moon. What is the moon? And do you know some phases of the moon? As I have some pictures here of phases of the moon. And the last word I have here are planets. Planets are the little rocks, the little circle things that's circling around the sun. Those are called planets. How many planets do we have in our solar system? Do you know? You can look in your book on page 94 or look in my photo that I just posted up on our Telegram post, and you can see all the names of the planets that's in our solar system. But now let's read solar system. Can you read that with me? Solar system are fixed stars that have light in themselves, such as the sun. So, do the planets, do Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn give out light? Yes or no? Or they need some other source that gives them light? Can you answer me that question? Now, that question will be posted and loaded in your quiz today. And number 2, planets. Planets do not have their own light, such as Mercury, Earth, Mars, or Jupiter. So, in our learning today, we know that planets do not produce their own light. The sun gives out light for all our planets. So, in a way, our relationships to the sun is very important, right? If we don't have no sun, then we'll be dark all the time. Then we have no trees, because trees need the sun to grow. And we have no rain, because rain also comes from heat, right? So the sun is really important to our solar system. You'll find out. Now, can you turn your book to page 95? 95 entails some readings about the sun, the earth, and the moon. The sun, the earth, and the moon. We have learned a little bit about the sun already. Now let's discuss something about the earth. As we see here, the earth has 4 different layers within the earth. The center of the earth is called the inner core. The outer core is around the inner core. Then we have the mantle. The mantle is the biggest landform inside Earth. And the smallest layer on Earth, or the thinnest layer on Earth, is called the crust. The crust, as I answered the question earlier, we live right now on the crust. The crust, it contains the mountains, the rivers, and all the lands and the soil is on the crust. So right now we are building our house and our roads on the crust. Again, I will upload this picture on our Telegram post so you will have a better viewing. And on the readings on page 94 also tells you a little bit of the earth, the sun, and the moon. We will discuss more on the moon in our second video. Okay, after you read that and our discussions in Zoom and our discussions in Telegram, I want you to do your first task. Your first task will be posted on our Telegram post after the video is played. So after you finish watching the video, say that you are finished watching the video and I will upload our first task. Okay class, see you on our second video. Hello class, welcome back to the second video for today's lesson. So how did you enjoy the first video talking about the solar systems? Thank you for submitting me your first task. Yes, I know the first task was kind of long, but this whole lesson you will have long tasks. So study real well, pay attention to the videos, and ask questions so I can help you and guide you through your exercise today. So we learned in the first task about the solar systems, how the sun affected all the planets. Also, I want to thank you for naming all the planets. Some of you did a real good job, and you were all correct in naming all our planets in our solar systems. Back to our lessons, you know how the sun, it affects all the planets in our solar system. Because without the sun, there will be no heat. And if there is no heat, there will be no rain, there will be no dry, and there will be darkness, like somebody said, darkness in all the planets. There will be no living things. For one, if there is no sun, then there is no oxygen. No oxygen means no air for us to breathe. So if there is no sun, there will be no living thing at all, right? Correct. So all this planet will all be dead and be just empty. We will not survive. So it is important to have life with the sun. Because without the sun, there would be no life. It would be just empty planet, just like a rock floating in space. Some of you have also described that to me, so thank you. And we also have studied about the Earth, about the many layers of the Earth's crust. We have the inner core, which is the main iron core that's in the center of Earth. Then the outer core is just hot molten lava. So on the outer core. Then the mantle is just hard rocks, which is the biggest crust in Earth. And the smallest and thinnest crust on our planet is the crust itself, where the rivers, the ocean, the lands, and the mountains are formed. So thank you for understanding your first class. Now on to our second class. In this video we will talk more about the moon and how moon affects low tide and high tide. What is low tide and what is high tide? Can you explain something to me on our Telegram post about low tide and high tide and how the moon affects the tides of our planet? Okay, if you want to know something about high tide and low tide. High tide is when the water in the oceans or the river rise up. That is the high tide. So when the water comes up in the river or the ocean, that's high tide. Low tides mean when the waters are receding or getting lower. For example, if you ever have a chance to go to a beach or a river, you can take a stick and put it right where by the river ends at, and you can see like in a few hours either the water rises up or the water rises down. When the moon is at a certain phase of the earth, there is a high tide. I mean, because the earth is tilted to an angle and the moon is pulling the water towards an angle, the water of our planet, it rises up. So covering more of the stick. So that is called a high tide. Low tide is when the moon is at a different angle of the earth, at the bottom of the earth, and is shifting the earth at a tilt, causing the water to sink down. That is called a low tide. I will upload some more pictures and some more readings about high tide and low tide on our post so you have a better viewing. But for now, I want you to read page 95 about the moon. I will read that with you and hopefully you can read it with me. Ready? The moon is a small planet which orbits around the earth. The moon also receives energy and light from the sun. So you actually see the sun affects not just only our planet, but also the moon. And the moon receives energy from the sun. From that energy from the sun, the moon causes earth to have high tide and low tide, which is the level of water in the ocean, whether it drops or whether it comes up. And a lot of our readings and a lot of animals that's affected by high tide and low tide, because some animals, they can't go down too low because they might drown for some reason, and they wait for high tide so the fish from the ocean will come up and animals can eat their food when there's high tide. So the relationship between the earth, the moon, and the sun is really important for man. Okay, for our task on the second video. After this video is made, I will post our task on our Telegram post. This is your task. Just like your first task, there will be 2 pages on all your tasks. I want you to answer all these questions about the moon and name the planetaries of our solar system. So now you will have an assignment about naming all the planets in our solar system and how it affects our planet. You will be given 40 minutes to complete this task. Once you complete this task, please post it up to my personal Telegram so I can correct it and give you back your score. Okay class, see you in our third video. Hello class, welcome back to our third and final video for today's lessons. As we see, we have learned today about our solar systems and how the sun affects all our planets, including Earth. Without the sun, we have learned there will be no life on another planet. It will be dry and completely barren. So it is important for our solar system to have life, have a sun. Is that correct? Yes. In our second video, we have talked about the moon and the layers of Earth. We see that the moon goes through different phases in our planets. And when the moon is at a certain phases of our planet, it affects the tide on Earth. Whether we have high tide or low tide. High tide is when water rises up. Low tide is when water sinks down. As seen throughout your task, on our second task, and throughout our discussions, you have understand what a high tide is and a low tide is, and how high tide and low tide affects all the living things around the oceans or rivers, even affects us as men. And we also understand the layers of Earth, because we understand that in the middle of Earth is an inner core made up of solid iron. It's called the inner core. Then they have the outer core that's around the middle core, and the biggest core in our planet is the mantle. The mantle is very huge and it's the biggest part of Earth. And what we live in, or live on now, also the rivers, the mountain is on, is the crust. So the crust is the Earth that we are walking on right now, where we built our house, drive our car, or even walk on. It's called the crust. So thank you for understanding that. We will go over more of this in our upcoming video series, because this is a long unit and we will discuss lots about our sun, the earth, and the moon. Okay, now for your homework class. Your homework, I will post the homework up after the video is played. So when you are finished watching the video, tell me that you are done watching the video and I will post the homework up. Again, your homework will be 2 pages, like all our activities, of assignments and activities. Some of them you will have to fill out, and some of them have multiple choice where you can answer or circle the correct answer and post it back to me. Again, this is homework, so you will have 1 week to submit it to me. Remember, our midterm is coming up soon, so it is very important to do your homework and to do all your assignments, because all your grades will add up together to give you your final grade. Okay, got that? I will be waiting for your homework. Okay, class? Till we see each other again next week, be safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.